Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam and you're watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies, and today I want to tell you about 10 really great Halloween movies you can currently watch on Netflix that are not quite horror movies. So this list is going to contain spooky elements, supernatural elements. They're going to feel kind of like horror movies, but they're not really intended to scare you much at all, and they really don't fit into the horror genre. Calling most of these or any of these a horror movie would be blasphemy to some people, but I still wanted to recommend them this month because they're damn close. Now, Teeth is my number 10 pick, and it is possibly the edgiest pick on this list because it's about a young lady who has, for lack of a better word, razor sharp teeth inside of her. Yes, I said. And this movie kind of goes where you would expect it to go if you give it a moment's thought. She grows up near like a nuclear facility and determines that she's got these razor sharp teeth in there and is able to exact revenge on men who have wronged her. And the subject matter for this is especially poignant in today's climate. So if you're in the mood for something weird and crazy and fairly topical for like a Halloween watch, Teeth would be a really good way to go. Gerald's Game is a Netflix original movie that is based on a Stephen King book, a fairly popular Stephen King book, and I think it's one of the better Netflix original movies that we've gotten in a while. I really liked it. It's about a couple that are out on vacation, on retreat. They try to spice things up. Wife is handcuffed to the bed. Husband keels over in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and then she is stuck there with his body next to the bed, a dog, and the handcuffs, and everything plays out from there. And for me, this is really Stephen King's better writing style. Movies like Misery, things like that, where it's almost like a puzzle. Someone's trying to figure something out. I really like the way he writes those scenarios, and he does a great job here. It's well directed. It's weirder than you're going to expect it to be at times, which makes it a great Halloween watch. Number 8 is Cabin Fever. I have recommended this as a horror movie. However, it's not quite. I mean, it's got some strong horror elements, but there's no boogeyman. There's nobody trying to kill anybody. It is about a flesh-eating virus, flesh-eating bacteria that sort of attacks these campers out in this cabin. The thing that kind of makes this movie stand out is it's got some clever little elements. Now, Eli Roth directed it. This is one of his earlier movies. In fact, this movie really sort of put him on the map, and I have not been a fan of what he's been doing lately much at all, but this one got some acclaim because it's got clever moments. There's some clever interactions with people. It's funny at times. So if you're in the right mood for this one, it's a good little throwback. It's not a horror comedy, but it is a little bit silly.
I don't want any of us getting sick, but you two fucking fuckers insist on touching her. Now she's bleeding all over both you guys, so you two can fucking rot. But not me. No fucking way, not me.
At number 7, 1922 is another Stephen King-based Netflix original movie starring Tom Jane. I really like this one. I did not know too much about it other than the synopsis, and I sort of brushed it off for a while. I just really was not interested in this movie at all. Gave it a shot and was really surprised at how much I like it. It's very gothic. It takes place in 1922 America, but it's about a wife who wants to leave the farm. The husband does not want her to leave the farm or doesn't want them to leave the farm. And there's some financial reasons as to why this is not going to work out for at least one of them. And the husband plots and decides he needs to kill her in order to maintain the life that he has. I think it's very well written by Stephen King, and then the movie's fairly well directed as well. It's got some nice cinematography. It's got some nice shots. It's fairly slow and melodic, so if you're in the mood for that, watch this movie, but it's got some heavy, heavy gothic things that make it perfect for October. Now, at number 6, Cube it's almost definitely a horror movie, but I've got it on this list and not my other horror list because I feel like almost anybody can watch this one. While it is going to freak you out and it's got some good jump scares and things like that, it's not a very accessible scenario. Like, you're not going to be frightened that you're going to wake up in the cube and you have to escape this cube. But Cube is a really great little escape the room movie about these people that are they're in like an experiment and they have to get out of a room. But then once they do that, they have to get out of another one and another one. So, and they're all booby trapped. So that's what you've got. You've got almost kind of a like Saw type scenario way before Saw ever came out. So if you were a fan of those movies and you never saw the original Cube, it is a must-watch this Halloween. If you like this type of content, definitely click the subscribe button and be sure to click that little bell icon so you get notified every time I put a new video out. At number 5, I've got a foreign language movie, unless you're French Canadian, but it is Ravenous, and not to be confused with the 90s Ravenous about cannibals. This is a good little zombie flick we got from Canada just a couple of years ago. Very well done. It feels a little different than your typical zombie flick. It does some things that I've never seen before. It's got some creative visuals in it. It's kind of frightening. But I really wouldn't list this one as a horror movie. It's a little bit more of like an adventure movie. If you're a fan of The Walking Dead, this one's really a must-watch. Because it's zombies, and because these zombies, like most, can hear you, there's not a lot of talking, which means if you do not like subtitles and you avoid them like the plague, there's not a lot of subtitles to be read in this one, so you could give this one a fair shot. Number 4, this is going to be some of your number 1 picks. I already know it, but A Dark Song is a great Halloween watch, particularly for any of you scaredy cats that can't handle intense horror movies. This one is going to feel like a horror movie for you. You're going to feel brave for watching it, but it is not completely terrifying. It is about a mother who is trying to contact her son in the afterlife, and instead of like a little 15-minute seance with some candles, they have to like lock themselves, her and a quote-unquote professional have to lock themselves in this like manor for what seems like months and perform this like elaborate seance that takes days and days in order to like be able to reach the other side. So very interesting take, very beautiful movie, very dark movie. It gets kind of intense and creepy, but it's ultimately a very good story. It's very well directed, well told, well acted. So this one is just, for something that's on Netflix that I know a lot of you have not seen yet, it is just aces all the way. At number 3, one of my personal favorites on the list is The Invitation. Now, this one is definitely not a horror movie. It's more of a thriller, but it is a great Halloween watch. It's about a guy who goes to a dinner party at his ex-wife's house, and his ex-wife has become kind of an odd character. She keeps some weird company, and they are acting very odd, and he starts to sense that maybe there's some sort of a cult element going on here. He starts to be concerned for the safety of the other people at the party, and he's not sure of himself, and that's what makes this movie so great, is you're not going to really know the entire time. That's how I felt the first time watching it. I'm like, maybe it's in his head, maybe it's not, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, and it really just sort of confused me in the best way possible. And then the conclusion of this movie is just fantastic. It's pitch perfect for what was set up. So I've watched this one a few times, and I cannot recommend it enough. Probably the most beautiful movie on this list at number 2 is Let Me In. Now, this is a remake of a Scandinavian flick called Let the Right One In, and it's a very true remake. There's not a lot that's different about it, other than it's got actors you'll recognize, and I'd say the cinematography and the production value is higher and better on this one. It's got a much more beautiful look. The mercury vapor lights at night are really sort of like spooky. This is a bloody little vampire flick that's got a lot of heart, and it is not... Don't get freaked out by vampire flick. This is not Twilight, and it's not like some weird, creepy, frightening thing either. It's very accessible, but it is dark, and it's about 2 kids, one being a vampire, one not, sort of like, I don't want to say falling in love, but developing this very loving relationship with each other amidst her trying to survive as a vampire. So really great story. Really well executed. It gets a little bit of hate because it is a remake, but it's a really well done remake, and if for nothing else, it was done to bring this story to an American audience. I think it achieved that goal perfectly. And finally, at number 1, the most talked about, most commented on movie on the Flick Connection channel is Train to Busan. It has been a while since I talked about it, so I'm comfortable bringing it back up. I think it belongs squarely at number 1 on this list. If you've never seen this movie and you had the slightest interest in zombie movies, I recommend checking this one out. If you've given up on zombie movies and you used to like them, I recommend giving this one a shot. It's a really great story, very, very similar to the outbreak you saw in World War Z, except this one's rated R. It's gory, it's intense, it's visceral. It takes place in South Korea. It's about a group of people on a train trying to survive this zombie apocalypse. The zombies are more frightening than they were in World War Z because there's more blood, there's more gore, they're real. It's real people running at the camera, not a CGI horde. I think it's by far a superior film. If you're the least bit interested in the way I'm talking about it, this is a great movie that for the most part, everybody that comments on it on this channel absolutely loves it. I'd love to hear what you think about this one as well as any of the others you plan on watching from this list. But I will keep making lists like this as long as you keep watching them. But thanks for checking this particular episode out, and you will see me on the next one.